Evening, men. Welcome to take 2 of our reminiscing on Wembley Way. I think Dollars is in the middle of baby duty, so he'll be jumping on at some point. But appreciate you coming back. Pot's even having a shave for the occasion, and talking us through it. So
2K8.
Yeah, nearly out of lockdown, mate. Nearly out of lockdown. Soon get to the barbers. Get that top knot put back in. So who wants to start us off then? Or shall I start with Terry Lyne's facts on 2007-2008 season? Lowestoft Town ended at Wembley. However, we have to get obliterated most Saturdays on our way to doing it. So final league position, 11th, 18 wins, 4 draws, 20 defeats, 5th highest scorers in the league with 88, and the 7th worst goals conceded with 91. So finishing bang middle of the table with a -3 goal difference.
Most burgers, most lager.
No, there was definitely a fair few of that. But you look at, I mean, just before we get on to the rest of it, but you look at that level of football, I guess, at that time, and you look at some of the teams who are in our league who are now up and doing what they're doing at higher levels. But Soham, Needham, Wroxham, Dereham, Mildenhall, Kirkley, Stanway, Felixstowe, Leiston. I mean, CRC at the time, obviously the Cambridge United sort of feeder. And then you even look at the Whitley Bays and the Concords who we played in the Vase run. Step 5 is different then, wasn't it?
Yeah, massively. We talked about it, didn't we? We touched on it as well. I think that was that Kirkley's first season in that level, or thereabouts. They haven't been around that long, and even they turned us over twice.
Oh yeah, they battered us, didn't they? Both occasions. They, to be fair, I thought they finished high that season, but that season they finished 6th 2 years in a row. And like you say, I think at the time there's a lot of niggles between the two clubs, weren't there? Lots of probably personalities more than most. I mean, I from a playing perspective, it wasn't too bad. There's a few relationships amongst different players, but definitely in the way that two clubs are running and the personalities involved in running them. I guess had we not got to Wembley, then you might be looking at a different landscape locally, especially, wouldn't you, with Kirkley and turning us over. But you went there soon after that, Rocket, didn't you? Did you get the feeling? Did you ever get the feeling when you were at Kirkley, like they just missed out on being overshadowed, if you like, by us getting to Wembley?
Yeah, definitely. You look back at that. If you look back at that season, I think the club Lowestoft had gone into debt, hadn't they? I can remember there was I think there was a forum at the Crown Meadow, and Gary Bennett headed it up. And obviously, the club was, I don't know, they owed a big tax bill or whatever. And there was a few faces from Kirkley in the crowd that night, I can remember. And I think they were thinking, here we go. And I think a lot of clubs were like sensing, not just Kirkley, but in the area, they're in trouble. They're obviously we're the biggest club, the biggest fan base. There's no doubt about that. But, the lads, to be fair, we were struggling in the league, got on it, got in the Vase, showed hunger and turned it round, and we basically saved the club, I think.
What would you say then?
Got ourselves number one in the town.
What would you say? Because, I mean, I can't remember many games. Now looking through some of the teams, I can't remember too many games actually. So I remember Soham away, because I guess at that time Soham felt like a bit of a journey. I remember getting absolutely walloped 5-0 there. Obviously they went on to win the league. But what would you say was the difference with us? We play teams who were better than us all through the Vase run, and better than a lot of teams in our league, to be fair. What was the difference on a Vase day to just an ordinary league day, do you reckon? Anyone take that one?
Belief. I think we had a bit of belief about us. I think we'd had a couple of seasons where we'd sort of sniffed around some of the sort of the earlier rounds in the Vase, and we had some big away games. I think we learnt a few lessons from playing a couple of those teams up north, Newcastle, Benfield, got absolutely battered. But I think we took a lot from that, not just a good night out afterwards, but we took a lot from it in the sense of just getting a sniff of what it was like to play some of these teams who just wanted to rough you up and had already written you off before the game. So I think we had a bit of belief, but we also had a sort of Stocky touched on it about the fan base. We had loyal supporters who would still turn up in their hundreds, wanting to support the team and for the team to do well. And I think we just managed to rise to the occasion when we needed to. And I think for me that was key, and it then gave us the belief with every round that followed. That's from my point of view.
I think also we were playing 4-4-2 in the league, and then we suddenly changed to more of a 4-5-1 or a 4, and when we were really at it, like a 4-3-3. And I just think the change of that, the lads sort of bought into that. We put Darren Cockle in the midfield. We looked a bit more solid, and we, the system worked for us, and it's just a bit of a snowball effect. I think we talked about the 5th round at Dunstan, winning that game when they were second favourites. That was it. Then I think the belief we'd lost to Benfield in previous years, and some bigger clubs in the north, and when we turned them over, I think then everybody was like, this is real. We can do this. We've got a massive following. The lads are buzzing. We can kick on this year.
Yeah, I think rightly or wrongly, I think I had just had there's something about the Vase. It was like a bit between the teeth. And as Pop said, we'd had a bit of taste of this sort of seasons before, and I think on that Friday night it was like I don't know, I was just like in the zone. Probably even I think if I'm right, probably chuck on the same Rocky film every Friday night, like that we had those games, and just go to bed or go into a routine, and then we'd meet for breakfast the next day, and it was we just enjoyed being around each other. There was just this thing about that we were willing to run through walls for each other.
Yeah.
And more often than not, we had a lot of luck on the way, but we just backed each other, defended like mad. We had some quality on the day, wherever that was across the pitch. Players that could score from all angles, all different positions, and we turned it on. And yeah, like I said, we rode a bit of luck, but for me, they're just sort of days that just stick out. The rest of the season becomes a blur. But every 3 or 4 weeks, when you had the next round, you was almost right. We're back on it. So that's what I remember.
But it is strange because you look at, I guess this region's had quite a lot of Vase success, if you like. Sudbury had their 3 years, if you like, where they were beaten finalists, and then you look at what we done, Wroxham then a couple of years later, whatever. But you look at how the other teams done it, and any teams, even Needham that season who were in the other semi, they're doing it off the back of one of their best years. They're winning the league. They're just, I guess, the team spirit's there because you're winning games. You're rarely losing, but that wasn't us. Like you look at Whitley Bay, they were smashing their league up, and Dunstan, who talked about that, we played on that run. Concord, who were right up near the top of their leagues. Like Needham, I'm not sure what Kirkham and Wesham were doing in their league that year, but the teams who have the runs, and even if you look at it now, Norwich United recent years, they had a couple of years, didn't they, where they were trying to do it with having some really good local players and probably the likes of today, Stowmarket. Speaks volumes for the dressing room to be able to turn up on that given day and just go, you know what, we fancy this, we're having this. But also probably speaks of how come those league games, you just like 3 weeks off. Just everything was just focused on that one Saturday. Dressing room, what do you reckon? Dressing room gets us to Wembley?
That definitely worked for us, with us being a mid-table side, I think, because I think teams come and watched us. Yeah. We're playing a different system, like I say, in the league. We weren't at our best, and we're getting beat. And I think definitely teams with this is going to be it. And then when we come to that, like Pot said, we were building up to those games, and we were hitting the ground running straight off. I mean, even the earlier rounds against like Rye and Desbury, you know, we got through them games. You know, the team spirit was great. We were behind in one of those games, I think, at Rye. And the dressing room was, you know, like I said, they thought the club was finished, but that dressing room wasn't ever finished. You know, we knew when we could turn it on. We had the quality, we had the spirit.
Best dressing room I've ever been involved in, hands down. Just had everything, didn't it? Had everything you wanted in terms of commitment, banter with the lads, music, some rascal tunes at times. Just had everything. In a way, we were quite predictable in the dressing room because you just knew at times it would be carnage. But when we needed to be, we could be focused as hell and get the job done. And for me, that was just the best combination that you could wish for.
Great mix of characters, weren't there? You know, Colonel, never trained at Norwich either. When Dave Carolyn put it on, he's having his tea. And all that, you know, we had a great, you know, almost a class of 92 scenario from the youth team, which and a great blend of, you know, some experienced lads as well. It all worked, and everyone, you know, got on, hammered each other, to be fair, but best dressing room I've been in for team spirit. Unbelievable.
I think the fact that we used to get together before games, and even, you know, like other games and home games, you know, we'd obviously go off to Ladbrokes at the top of town, or you'd go and meet up, you'd get your breakfast on. You just didn't, you never got bored of each other because you probably knew, you know, bearing on the bars run, there was a team night out straight after anyway, and you're back out with each other. You spend the best part of, you know, probably 15, 16 hours in a day with each other, and you're still not bored of each other. And then
I was definitely 16 minutes.
2 days later, we get back together again.
I think Colonel was about to hang himself a couple of times in the car with me and him take to the games because I lived over Bradwell then. But you're right, Potts. I mean, those. I remember we used to win in the Vase and then go to the Falcon in town and do the pub crawl back through. It was superb.
And it was great, isn't it? Because you'd bump into people who'd watched the game, and I think there was that connection, wasn't there? Because at the time, I know you were from Bradwell, and we had a few Yarmouth and Goulston lads, but that was about it, wasn't it? Really, that was about as far as we sort of branched out in a sense. So there was that connection because we'd all go out, you'd bump into people who'd watched the game, you'd get chatting. They just had that almost in a way a community feel about it, with a bit of an adult theme in the evening, and it was just nice, wasn't it? It just had that nice feel about it. After a game, you'd go in the clubhouse, have a few drinks, chat to some of the fans, and it just had a good feeling about it. And like for me, that was sort of being a local lad and being part of that was good, special, I think.
I think that's probably, when you go up through the, I know when players changed and whatever, but the fan base has always been a local fan base, and you even look as of today. I know we're not playing at the minute, but where attendances are nearly averaging 400 again. It's local people coming to support the team, and that's something the club's been really fortunate to have. But I guess more with the squad we had that year, and Rocket, I know you talk about like the young lads that had come in through that time, and I guess particularly towards the back end of the year, we saw even more. It wasn't just the people like Huffy, myself, Pops, Kingy, who'd come through the youth team and were playing. Ali Mac, we were playing every week. There was the next group who were coming through because they were having to pick up the slack on certain league games just to keep people fresh. But it just involved so many more people, so many more families. And I mean, you look back at some of the night out pictures of fancy dress. It was ridiculous, wasn't it? And that was what it was about. And the fact that year, all of a sudden you had something that just kept people coming back, and building towards probably the reason you ended up with the numbers we got at Wembley watching, because I'm not enough of a statter to know what sort of gates and attendances other people have taken since, but that was exceptional, wasn't it? 20 odd thousand just in blue, just at that bottom tier. That was something. Top appearance, mate. Anyone? Any takers?
You.
No, I was way down there. I was half a leg to the back end of the year. I had pops on 52.
Oh, no wonder I retired early.
Poppy.
Peaked too soon.
Yeah.
Plasky got 51 games out of his knee strap.
How many did Louis make?
Louis, 21. 21 and 1 goal. 21 and 1 9. Rocket, you were 36 with 12 goals.
1 in 3.
You scored 1 goal that year. Pops, you got 3 goals. But there was Huffy 14, Goddard 43, Woody 49. But then it littered, back end of the season with lads, Boggy and Budgie, Jack Herbert, Reece Hunn. People are all still playing now, and I guess became part of it a little bit because they were, and we'll get on to the size of the Wembley squad in a minute, but they were brought into the first team fold to play games at the back end of the year, weren't they? When we were looking after people's hands, hips, backs, and whatever else, trying to get them through.
I was going to say how many injuries as a squad, as a team, we had towards that back end of the season, and a few of us who were thinking, bloody hell, we've got Wembley coming up. I don't know if I'm going to make it. Not sure if I'm fit. Stocky with his hand, you with your hip. I think I struggled with my hip or my leg for a little bit. Dale, Cockers, McGee.
Broken back.
Broken back and then a bicycle kick.
Is that for that throwing at Woodbridge?
Do you know what? It was, wasn't it? I think it was.
It was Woodbridge. You just sat down and said you broke your back.
Sat down, I broke my back. No, I remember going to Norwich and having cortisone injections. I remember going to physio there. Yeah, I had a fracture. I don't know when it did, but it was just awful, and it turned into sciatica. And if any of you have ever had that, then
you went to Norwich. You went to Norwich with a cortisone injection, ended up in Rocco's.
Or for a Sunday roast.
After
a Saturday night. Stayed in there, just sat in the corner. It's mad, isn't it? Like I said, so many games, so many things going on that
we were talking about it, weren't we? About the Premier League at the moment and how many games the players are playing. But I really think that our fitness was not that great as a squad that season, and that's why we struggled a bit. I know we couldn't really help something. I mean, my injury was like my own fault. Touch rugby in it 2 days before Whitley Bay.
In the snow.
You know, Ren's fish and hips come out, didn't it? And, but there was a lot of strains, a lot of pulls and stuff. So the season after, when we were fit, I can't remember there being that many injuries really for long term to key players. So, you know, when Flem and David turned up,
the pack-up's changed on the away bus. There's no pasties and burgers. What was that game where we stopped off and everyone was tucking into a KFC?
Oxy Jets.
Sweating chicken.
It's probably worth adding that was before the game, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
not just after we all
pre-match bargain bucket.
Mind you, Cockers had fish and chips, didn't he, the day before Torquay versus Ebbsfleet, the day before the Vase final. Coming Wembley Stadium, there he was tucking into, haddock and chips.
It was about 12 quid. Nobody.
He went and sold the window before he could buy him.
Followed by the meal that night. Oh, can you imagine?
Yeah. Well, we'll make our way through the games then. First game we played that year, Desborough at home. Any takers?
Was that 1-0?
1-0. Huffy. I remember that
they
day.
Were decent. They were decent.
That's probably going to be a theme in most of these games. Yeah. They were better than us, and we've absolutely pulled a robbery. But I just remember it being baking hot, and under the cosh, and Huffy nicking us a winner, which he sort of, to be fair, he became the main man a little bit sometime with his goals in that run.
He did.
Yeah, he had a great pass, didn't he?
Yeah. Rye United was next at home again. Won 4-2.
That was awful.
Was this the one with
The wind?
Plasky?
Yep.
Plasky got chased down the pitch.
It was it was two things from that game, wasn't it? It was the wind and Plasky's
McGee.
when they all kicked off and their centre forward and Gaz bounced the ball off his head. And he chased.
We were in it, setting the scene. Like there was something happening in the middle of the pitch. A big tackle. The lad's been a bit naughty, isn't he? And from the back of a group, McGee has just dropped the ball on this lad's head, and he'd just been sent, and he'd just been. And he just spun around, and the first person he saw was Plasky. And he's just gone charging after Plasky down the pitch. Got Plasky just on the run, ended up standing behind Marcus.
Noel Edmonds, deal or no deal, pinging away. Yeah, the wind was horrendous. I think I claimed an assist for them because I cleared the ball.
Again.
And I just remember it to go another one, yeah. An assist, cleared it, swung, and just watched this ball just fly back over your head and just literally into the centre, into the lad's path. Can't be offside, and he's tucked it away. I think it was 4-1 or 3-1 at that point. And then we got the goal that killed it, I think. But yeah, horrendous conditions.
One of your passes.
Who scored in that game?
Rocket 2, Huffy and Godders.
Huffy again.
I can't remember my second, but I can remember I went round the keeper and put it in, and I can remember one of the fans jumped on the pitch with an umbrella and danced around me.
Is that where the old Lee Hughes dance come from?
Yeah.
Oh, the old Wigwam Bam.
No, that was a good win. They were quite a tough side, weren't they? They were physical and
they hated it.
Yeah.
Fancy their chances that game. They did.
Yeah. And then round 4, Blackstone home 3-2. I had a thought about this one after we'd made our first attempt at trying to do this recording. They stayed over, didn't they? I think they stayed over and went on a night out in town. I'm sure I remember.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Most of our games, but yeah, I think a few of their lads stayed over and had a night out. I'm vaguely remember having a drunken conversation with their manager in probably Notley's or something like that. But that was another toughie again. Huffy with a goal, Darren Cockrell and McGee. So yeah. And then came Dunstan.
I think Huffy's was a decent goal, wasn't it? I think he caught, was it not a volley? 30-yarder, I think.
Yeah, it might have been.
Just looking at my scrapbook, but it was. I think it was vaguely. I remember that popped up and Huffy. Yeah, he was. He would have been coming on. I'm guessing. No, I'm sure.
He was wide.
He was
playing, I think.
Front three, I'm sure, with Huffy one side, Kingy the other, and me down the middle with Godders just off me, and then Woody and Cockers. I'm sure that was like that. I'm sure that was the.
I'm sure it would have mixed up, wouldn't it, a little bit in different games, because you had Godders and you had Reece Hunn, didn't you? Reece Hunn was having a great year, to be fair to him. Yeah, but it was that 4-1, 4-1 or 4-3-3, whatever it was, I guess, depending. It wasn't often we were really adventurous.
They had that ability, didn't they? They had that ability just to change a game. Reece, Huffy, people like that who had that turn of pace.
Ali Mack.
Just to come on, even when they were starting, but when they were coming on as well against teams on heavy pitches and that, just had that ability, just that quick extra yard of pace that would just catch defenders out and either assist or just be able to do something themselves. And we sort of relied on that, didn't we? That was a good outball we often had at times for those.
But you look at all the goal scorers in the early rounds, with the exception when we get to Whitley Bay at home, it was Stocky or the wide players that were getting the goals. It was very much you lot attack and we'll see what we can do to shut up shop. We weren't really good enough to kind of dominate anyone, really, were we? But another thing, probably because now we're at round 5, Dunstan at home, Rock, as you said, like second favourites, and came down and give it the big one. 4 home games. I mean, you don't you don't get that often, do you?
Played in our favour, did it?
Yeah, played in our favour.
Support fan base. Because I'm guessing some of those teams as well that had come down probably hadn't played in front of 500-600 people. So some teams like Rye maybe and Blackstones.
Pops, I think we're doing a disservice. I think we were getting 1,500 to 2,000 as it went on.
But early on,
and more. Yeah,
it was a big crowd in that day. That Dunstan game. I was suspended for that game, but I remember there was a big crowd.
Yeah, people got behind, and I guess because you got the back-to-back home games, and everyone got to see the fact that we were turning up for those games. I guess it just became that one game that even the neutral or the floating fan would come to. But to get 4 home games, and then I mean, it was just one perfect storm. Where you got home games, big crowds, decent atmosphere, there's a passionate. We were changing up the system for the Vase. We were bang average in the league. So if they tried to look into us, they'd just go, these lots of shit, and just go from there, wouldn't you? And you probably had all of those things that helped massively. But
you being suspended for that game worried me, Stocky, because you think you got a big team, big lumps from up north. You just want to come down. Ideal game for us to have a target man or something to hit up top. When you being suspended, I was a bit like, where's our outball here? Do you know what I mean? How do we change the way we play? I guess
it can work. I thought it works both ways, doesn't it? Gaz is obviously a touch more mobile than me, so he always could get in behind. But I've got holding it up in front, I was better. But I mean, it worked well in the first semi against Whitley.
Yeah,
it worked in green, but the second leg, they sussed it and obviously put that massive copper on me. And
bodyguard.
Until you need to come off. Need some pain. It can work both ways, the games, but that was a great that 5th round game. As I said, I think that was a turning point. Everyone was waiting for the draw the next week, and their real belief then that we could go and do something. I think. It was. If
I remember, I think the game. One of my best games. I think the fellow I was marking. I think he played in the league, and he was decent. I remember him good, but it was like a battle the whole game. And then I think obviously we'd scored early, didn't we? And I think Godder scored from a corner, or I said before, like in almost a free kick, and he brings the ball further in than the linos on the opposite side of the pitch. But we were really good, because I think they were fancied. They were really physical. Obviously, you had the element of, like Pops had just mentioned, about you not playing, which obviously good in both boxes. And that I just remember, like, tackles flying in at points. We stood up to it because we'd been through that phase before and playing away at places like Benfield and whatnot. And I remember that fella shouting out, so like there was a tackle going off, and they went, "That's a tackle in our league." He wasn't Polish either, with a hint of Romanian. No, but he was just absolutely, I remember, and we were just bang on it, and we knew we had to be, because if we couldn't match them that way, we were going to be struggling.
Richie,
he is.
Evening, Goddess.
Richie.
Evening.
Saturday night, they've been running rings around your belt.
Yeah. Go get the ball off him.
Just finished a 1-to-1, Goddess.
Oh yeah, the worst 1-to-1 ever.
You jumped in at the right time. We need you for the accent. Tackling our league.
We're nearly there. We've just had Potts do tackling our league, man.
His Welsh accent.
I thought it was partially Romanian, Bulgarian, but with a hint of Polish.
Yeah. We're now come. We've just finished Dunstan at home, and I'll run 4 home games, and now at Concord away, that kind of first away game of the run. So who wants to try and dissect that one?
For me, that was the first time I actually thought we could go on and win it, that game. And even more so, I know it was quarters, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And even more so when I think we scored early doors, seemed to defend the next 80 minutes. Got luck. You kind of thought, God, can you be this lucky throughout the competition? So that was one game where I thought we could win it, but I just remember that Huffy scoring early doors. I think he rounded the keeper, or it fell to him right in front of goal, and then it was just the Alamo, because they were looked after by the Cowley brothers then, weren't they?
Yeah.
They hit the bar, I think, late as well, didn't they? We went 1-0 up and they ended up with 10 men, but we still ended up defending for the next 85 minutes. I think they went down to 10, didn't they? I thought the guy got sent off for when Huffy scored.
No,
I'm sure the guy Easterford got sent off.
No, because that was the keeper. He brought down Kingy, and Huffy then slotted it in, didn't he?
Yeah.
Played advantage.
It was just a long.
It felt like they had 12 players then, to be fair. Amount of times we touched the ball. I hate to see the possession stats. Every time we got the ball, Ren's put it in the, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but the Pikey car park.
Yeah. But it was like the problem is with some of the games late on, like we were set up to really defend, weren't we? Like we talked about changing the system. We were just set up to try and be a little bit harder to play against. And we'd never really spoken about, go on then, you're 1-0 up after however many minutes. Huffy gets another Vars goal. We just didn't know what to do, did we?
We also weren't fit enough, were we?
No, we just
weren't fit enough.
Kicked it high and as far as I possibly could. Yeah.
We weren't fit enough to press, were we? We weren't fit enough to press and sustain it. And like,
even in those times,
we're going to rock it up front. We weren't going to be pressing, were we? We'll just deal with it here.
For the night out.
Bottle of Peroni in your hand on the back of the paper.
Oh, that was before you come on, actually, God, as I said, that once with that mental block from the 5th round, that was that mental hurdle that we really could then believe that we could do it. I read today, though, that we took 400 fans to that Concord game and there was about 700 there. So we'd outnumbered them. And they sung, I remember the last quarter of an hour or something, sung for the whole, to the end of the game, and really got behind us. And
to be fair, I mean, there's very little social media kind of activity and stuff from back in 07. I mean, if it was today's world, there'd be all sorts, wouldn't there? Footage sitting in the cloud somewhere. But I remember trying to just look for anything to do with our Vars, and you can get like a 10-second video of the fans chanting and cheering, like I think it was at the final whistle of Concord. But they were behind the goal, and I'm not sure what half it was, but I just remember it might have been first half. They were so loud. They were on it for the entire game. And let's be honest, for teams who are playing at home, who probably don't normally get as many as that for their own fans, let alone for the full games.
Yeah.
Must have done.
They barely got a man and his dog, because I went and watched them. Obviously coming with it injured, I went and watched them about a week or two before we played them, and they smashed a team like 9 to 10s. And I thought, oh God, they're decent. The team they're playing against is woeful, and will be better. But I thought they're decent. The centre forward, I think the lad Begg was good and very quick. They had some decent midfielders, obviously, and the team, a lot of them played up when they got promoted and still played up a couple of years later. Obviously, you had the Cowley brothers at the helm, if you like. But yeah, that was a tough game. I remember we rode our luck, especially I think the lad hit the bar late on. And obviously we must have gone through every match ball going with Ren smashing everything in the car park or the caravan park. I don't think they went and get them balls back, did they? But yeah, no, I remember that, and then Rocket afterwards.
It's funny because we've been there since, haven't we? As we've travelled through the leagues, and that's always been a tough, horrible place to go. I think the year we went up to,
great memories.
Yeah, always been a tough place to go, which makes the result probably even more remarkable. To be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair, I mean they had a little bit of probably what we had relied on, didn't they? That wasn't a nice journey to get there. You got there and it felt like you'd travelled through Baghdad and whatnot, and they probably had a lot of that. And I mean, Dunstan, Blackstone, Ryan, all of them who came to Lowestoft, that must have felt the same. You kind of get into the edge of the world, and then all of a sudden you've got this massive fan base. And I think other than the fans, that's probably what they relied on, didn't they? They knew what they were. Cairnsey Island were up the road, who were the bigger, more glamorous team, and they just grafted. They were horrible to play against them.
And they had a bit about them, didn't they, as well? Like, give a bit. They'd definitely give you a bit of banter and give you a bit, and they fancied themselves, obviously being that sort of mentality as Chapo used to go to his team talks. Didn't Rixie do something on the roundabout? Do you remember we travelled? Do you remember Rixie?
Yeah,
and then found out did he drop his kegs?
Yeah.
Fat Cheeks. Yeah. Fat Cheeks dropped his kegs and started doing star jumps on the roundabout.
Didn't we? We get him to after breakfast.
When Mick McCarthy there, weren't Wolves at the same place?
We stopped off. Yeah, we stopped off at the hotel, didn't we, on the way down? And then you lot were all offering a couple of quid to Rixie. Who's anyone for a couple of quid around here?
The worst thing was though, when it'd been done, it'd been done for exposure, in decent exposure. There he was, whipping it out and doing star jumps.
Thought he'd earned 20 quid off the lads, but got a 30 quid fine.
Rixie's lift as well.
Rixie's lift.
£5 anywhere.
That was a brilliant journey home. That.
Night out that followed as well. I remember rightly.
Yeah, that was lively. I remember that. Yeah.
Copy and paste the night out after the game, don't you, for Saturday every week?
Same thing. Yeah. Here we are. We're out again.
You'd leave the house. I might be back, or I might not.
Yeah. Might be back to get changed.
We did say about the story of Colonel telling his missus about
the two-legged way to Liverpool.
Yeah. We were going somewhere near Northampton, but where's that? Oh, no, yeah, it's near Liverpool. Yeah.
Speaking of Colonel on night out, was it Whitley Bay where he'd come back and he'd fell down a hill?
Yeah, that was away. Yeah.
And we stand at the fruit machine. He looked like just normal at the back. Someone called his name. He turned round and just mud.
Just saw his eyes. Saw his eyes. Oh yeah, that was a lot went on in that hotel that night and the night before, I think.
Yeah.
Weren't they like a wedding reception going on or some massive disco?
Yeah, it was,
did we fly up?
Yeah.
No, was it that? No, the second. Did we fly up? We flew up the second time, didn't we? The year after.
No, was it bus, wasn't it? Was it bus?
Bus. The longest journey back on the Angel, going past the Angel of the North.
Yeah.
On the way home, because that's when we had Derham on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
I was shot. Pops got sent off. Got battered. But that was obviously, that's a game ahead.
Hospital having an op, yeah.
Add that to the list. Go on then. So Whitley Bay at home and then Whitley Bay away. Well, let's be honest, that is probably as much as anyone remembers about that Vase run without the bits of paper in front of you in it. They were chalk and cheese. Four zip.
Probably the best result of the decade for the club.
Yeah.
Without shadow of a doubt, you're playing against an outstanding team with an outstanding record in the competition. And we were missing a few, weren't we? So Bloomy came in at left back, who I thought was outstanding that day. Who else? We were missing it. We were missing a few. And to come away 4-0, was it? Outstanding. The fans were outstanding that day.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
What Wen said, about the team coming to Lowestoft, and I remember we'd been early for breakfast. We were in the dressing room. We never used to rock up to dressing until about 1:30, 1:45 on a normal game, but we were in there at like 1, and Chapo was in there, and they come and pass going, this place is a shit all, weren't they, and all that, and they just thought it was going to be a comfortable 2-0 win or something.
Whitley. thought they're from Newcastle.
Eastern European.
Oh, I'm
Eastern
not
European.
even sure as that. I thought he'd just go off to play from Delhi.
One of the Champions League game.
Go out Azerbaijan.
Yeah, but that was that, and we were just like, and I think Chapo, you know, he really believed in us that day, jumping up and down on the bench in the dressing room, and you know, we were outstanding.
He believed in us, whether we were playing against Man United, wouldn't he? If we had the playing Man United, the class of '92 with Beckham in that, he would still stand in front of our dressing room and go, "I wouldn't change anyone in there for any one of you." He
backed us, didn't he? He backed us, and I guess that sort of confidence that then instilled in some of the players. Maybe you lacked a little bit of that because you felt good. You felt good amongst everyone else because he'd backed you and fancied our chances, like I say, against whoever we played against. But yeah, that game, I think.
Miserable day, wasn't it? Quite a miserable start.
Freezing, man.
Did it snow or did it hail or something?
Yeah, I think fairly early on, but
fairly windy as well, and at our pitch as well. It wasn't really well shaded from the wind as well. So when that picked up, you knew you were in for a game. But
he come
did
out
they have a man sent off?
Yeah,
like touch
out Who scored? Did Woody score penalty first, or was there one before that?
I thought
Woody got a couple, and then I think you got one at the end, didn't you? It's just been loaded into the ambulance when I heard the fourth.
Yeah, before half time. I think Gaz went through as well in the second half. I think when God has scored, and then Gaz had a chance to make it 5. And I think the keeper pulled a good decent save off. I've done my usual, been subbed by then, and I thought this 5-0 that'd have been an absolute dream world, you know.
Yeah.
4 should have been, shouldn't it? There are many teams who win 4-0 and still go as underdogs into the next game. But it was hard. But you talk about like Chapo's belief in this, and I'm sure as him and AD and whatever they went through the leagues, they probably started to get a lot more information and things on opposition. But that was probably one of the beauties of that year. There was nothing, was there? We never once spoke about them. All we could go off was like you could Google their league at best and find out where they were, and that was it. There was no information, and even if they did know anything, they never made it about that, did they? I mean, Chapo's pots, you'll probably remember more detail than any of us, but how Chapo changed his entire team talk for Vase games is, I mean, just to list everyone's how much he thought of them, but then would always just stick something on them just to make them sure that they knew that they still had some work to do. But that's probably the stuff people didn't see, isn't it?
Yeah, subtleties. You probably did it and didn't even realise it was just something that worked, and that we just, you just that. I like I said, that was that whole perfect storm. The people in the change room, Chapo obviously with his passion. I think his heart not stopped till one of the games. He put his hand on his chest, and one of the games I think ended up with blood in his face, where he'd cut his own face or something through hugging someone, and they'd, I don't know, caught him with a nail or something. I don't know, but yeah, it was just, you just couldn't write the script, could you? You just couldn't write. You'd be a kind of, what if you read the book, you wouldn't know what was coming next. You might know it was something that was going to be quite out there, but you wouldn't know exactly what it was. That was the run in a nutshell. Do you think, though, question I thought, do you think that second leg that we went there thinking we're 4-0 up here, we're in a good place, and were we slightly off it to start with, and then they just literally come out the traps and just blew a whirlwind at us?
I'd say probably a bit of both. The fact that we probably thought we'd done enough, and then the way they started, we were never ready for that. You just remember them. 4-0 up, thought that was enough. Then lining up, they got kick-off, and they just had 5 or 6 players lined up on the halfway line. Ball got played back, and they launched it, and it was like a throw-in deep in their half in the first 10 seconds, of which they had a real long throw, and it just got launched right on top of Andy, and that was pretty much the story. We never expected to
it's probably the first time when that the mentality, probably even the stuff we were being told, it was around, look, just keep them at bay, just keep, if we can hit them on the break. It was the first time we'd probably had a mentality of just defend what you've got, rather than, like we just said, where it was you lot are better than them, go and win the game. And it just everything. I mean, no one in their right mind turns up 4-0 down away to a team that you know can hurt you and opens up and goes and plays. But
I don't think we'd ever been in that position as a team, as a group of lads, had we? We never played two legs before. 4-0 from the first, it was just a completely different scenario. And, I was behind their midfielder, Robbo, get the ball to Robbo. 30 yards behind it. Renz is going to get this. That swerved, done a triple Salco on the way, straight in. And I thought, this is just,
That made it 2, and I was that made it 2-0 up within 10, 15 minutes. And I just remember going, oh, we've fucked it, we've blown it.
Yeah.
But that's all I stood in the pit. I mean, I travelled up and was on crutches. There was no part of me was due to be involved in any way, shape or form. And I just remember the morning of the game, Aidan Chapo pulled me in there, the local newspaper. And I think the paper had kind of said, look, we still believe we're in with a shout here. We've seen enough to know we can win the game, and they're going to have a young keeper, blah blah blah. And I don't know what had gone on with Rixie, but he just wasn't fancying it. And they went, come on, we'll strap you up, we'll put you out there. It'll just be mentally, it'll just be a big blow for them seeing you out there. And once they saw me try and move, they must have just put a mannequin in goal. Honestly, I just remember the third one going in, going, what did I agree to?
Did you even warm up?
The strapping I didn't do anything, mate. They were strapped.
You imagine them? Is he in goal? They got a keeper out. They got no keeper in the warm up.
I think Ali Ken got shares in flipping the wrapping stuff. It went from my knee. It went from my knee up round my waist. Just to try and minimalise any kind of moves in goal.
Yeah, could do with some of that now, to be fair.
Yeah. It was it was
strange, wasn't it? Because obviously we talked about that season in the league and obviously we've been battered a few times in the league, but being battered by them, it felt different. It just felt completely different to playing a team in our league where we were getting battered, like say by Soham or your Wroxhams. You were getting battered by a team and it was relentless. And like similar, we probably all thought, well, this is done and dusted. We got to half-time 3-0 and I was thinking it's going to be about 8-9-0 by the end of this game and we aren't going to get a sniff.
Maybe
I don't know. I think we stood up. I think come that third one, I remember personally, I just remember the throw in the centre half, like I said before, and I just thought, wait a minute, what are we doing? We're not standing. We ain't gone this far. I think their fans had just called me Benayoun as well.
Right,
you see Benayoun. On my way back from Karachi, and I just was like, nah, wait a minute. And then I thought, if it kicks off, then hopefully the lads are with me. I just remember a bit of throwing, and I just went bang, just stuck my elbow in the centre half, stood on him, literally couldn't move, and he was like, "You do that again?" I said, I just looked and laughed, and I thought, now wait a minute, this is what we've got to do. This is part of the game. We've been strong, through other times. We haven't been great away at these sort of places before. They got 3,000 people there. The winds are howling and they're flying. Are we just going to accept this? And then that obviously we got to half time, and I remember that Gaz and Chapo already saying about we're 1-0 up stuff, and I just was like, come on lads.
That was important though, weren't it? Because we've done 1-0 up. I mean, you look at four of the games to get to that point, we'd only won by 1. And I think that kind of realisation. But equally, I mean, you imagine being 4-0 up and you've just done 3/4 of the work in the first half and being at 3-0. They must have thought, happy days. We get 1. This is done. So there could have been all sorts going on, but that was hostile, wasn't it?
That Chow missed a chance on half time.
Yeah.
And I remember them. He really beat himself up. And I think Potter's right. There was a bit of a change, and they started to, after half time, they started to snatch at things, and you could see the pressure went the other way, didn't it?
They started to force it, didn't they? They started to force it, and they didn't need to do that, because the whole first half they were just playing their game and just were relentless. And like I said, I think we did half-time changed it, team talk, we came out, we stood up to it. Yeah, there were still mounts of attacks, but we stood up to it much better than we did in the first half and pulled through. And
we never got out, did we, first half? I think they'd started the centre half who didn't start the game at home to play up against Stocky, who was probably less mobile than so when they made a change for Gary to come on, and we could start getting up the pitch and start being a bit of a threat, that just took a bit of pressure off us, just off our back line.
Remember Gaz, didn't he kick their keeper and that? And
he Daniel Sund did, didn't he? Karate kidded him, the crane.
Yeah. Well, that's Gazza, you know.
What we needed, wasn't
it? He stretched them as well, didn't he?
He cared whatever game he played, and he always just played the same way, didn't he? That you know, that's just how he is, and he was superb second half. Yeah.
It's an ideal game for him to come on. That was for us, as well, for an outball, but also for him just to have a bit of grit about him. And
it was the whole second half. You felt the game, that the pressure of it more on them, because their fans. Well, there was like 2,000 odd people there, and you could feel that all start coming onto the pitch, and Ren's going down every goal kick and getting treatment. It would just started to build up. Their throw-ins continuously started to come in our box, and Marcus, Plasky? God, they were good. People like that you needed when your backs are against the wall. They were brilliant, and one of the best feelings ever when that final whistle went.
That countdown was unbelievable, because I was on the bench. You know, Ali Mack had a scrap with one of their coaches, and you could sense, you know, we were, as a group, we were fighting back. We turned it from a massacre into you know, as a team and a group, everyone was sort of going the other way. But I remember actually just shaking on the sideline towards the end. You know, looking at McClark, there's a lot of busy fans there, like kept shouting, "Corner left," and all this, and it was just like, shut up, you know. We just and then I remember like the final whistle, Trig coming over the other side, and great feeling, best feeling ever.
So you kind of get that point. That whistle goes, and then some of the whirlwind all the way until we got to Wembley. This is probably, you could spend most of the evening here, couldn't you, with all the things that went on. Give us one of the things leading up to Wembley that we did as a collective. That just, you either shake your head at now, knowing what we know, or you just remember.
Woody Bear at the Foxborough. I'm taking Reese after me and Gaz and Reese going out. Loads of wine.
So we had the Foxborough, they invited us over for a meal, didn't they, to congratulate us and wish us good luck.
Yeah.
On the house. Yeah, that was.
But that was instead of training, wasn't it? That's probably important. I mean, all of these things that we got to do that probably, if you went back, and whether you do it again is by the by, but I think it's the fact that we replaced doing any type of training for any type of invite we got to
media exposure.
It was.
That's sort of thing I remember saying before. I wouldn't go. I turned it down. Nothing because obviously, you know, you guys, I knew what I was playing a race against time, and I just was like, I can't believe I know we've got to enjoy this moment, but we can enjoy the moment if we go and win the thing, and we'll be hallmark legends for the rest of every life in this town. And I just couldn't get my head around why we would go out, to a point of going, I wasn't going to try and change people's minds. I wasn't going to say anything that upset the apple cart. I just kept it like in myself, going, I hope this doesn't come and bite us in the arse. which obviously we know what the answer to that. But that was probably the thing for me personally, just thinking where I was at mentally and physically more than anything else.
Yeah.
But that was also, wasn't it?
I think, but we'd not done anything differently, and yet we'd arrived at the final. So I think there was probably an element of, look, we've got this far, being us, and so why not lap it up? And there was an element of goodwill. People were offering us, freebies, and it was like it almost felt rude to turn them down, because the whole community was brilliant, wasn't it? You felt like celebrities that for that time leading up to it. I think me and Gaz went down to Wembley, and it was a bit of a photo shoot with their captain and one of their players. So we got to go down and face the cameras and do a few interviews and that. So that was pretty good. Yeah. What else did we do?
We had Anglia News film us getting off the bus to go try our suits on at Slater's.
Yeah.
Slater.
I just remember there's a photo, 3 changing rooms, and there's Ren's, me in the middle, and Stocky, and it looks like you brought your little brother out for the day. I'm standing in the middle of you two, trying suits on. Oh, it's just, you got your sunglasses on.
Baggy fit.
They weren't even sized up right. They were just hanging over your knuckles.
baggy trousers.
I've still got the Wembley suit.
Charlton Grey.
That's the thing. I mean, I didn't. I think I spent most of my time trying to speak, like, just do as much as I possibly could just to get my leg sorted. So I don't think I got too involved in the things like the meals. But there is an element. You look back on it. What more? We become athletes in that period of time where we weren't going to deviate from the plan and the systems and all of that. It was, everyone had an individual agenda about whether they could make it through fitness or not, or like Pops, whether his card would bite him in the arse from veering away. And
I'd bust my hand. I'd had an op, so I was like, am I going to play?
Yeah.
Biggest game ever. I see everyone's like training in that, and I was training a cast, praying that they'd take it off and stuff like that. So it was quite tense for me, but still, I think God has hit it on the head. That was us as a team at that point. Obviously, our mentality changed the next season a bit, but that's how we got there. We wanted to enjoy it. Once in a lifetime, maybe we thought that. We should have probably gone there. Won it the next season. We were a far better outfit, I think.
Yeah.
But,
that was our best opportunity.
So Wembley, we travelled down, longest day's travel. Go and watch. Was it Torquay Fleet?
Got there at half time.
Yeah, got there at half time.
But the bus broke down, and
other people beat us down there, didn't they?
Yeah, bus broke down.
That whole day was just summed us up. The bus broke down. We didn't get picked up till late, and then I just remember just sweating for what seemed like hours on it was a minibus.
Yeah,
was it a Dolphin minibus or Sunny
Gemini from Ipswich?
Yeah.
Bus replacement, I think.
Due to play in front of 20,000 people in a day's time, and we were cramped up in this little party thing.
First in the seat. You had to stand, didn't you?
Well, we met. I know. I was stood up on the way to Wembley. But it was, I remember us meeting like 7 o'clock in the morning. It was really early when it was the hottest weekend of the year.
Yeah.
Ridiculously hot, humid. And then we had no drinks or nothing. Got to Premier Inn, wherever it was we stayed. And then, or did we go directly to Wembley because we were that late? Straight to the game, but we somehow still got there late. And obviously because of the bus breaking down. And then, there was Jeff Price leading the miracle with his magical water, and 2 litres were allowed, weren't we, for 24 hours? Even though we couldn't piss if we wanted to, or even spit. Cockers had a fish and chips, most expensive fish and chips ever, I think, at Wembley at the time. Was it 12 odd quid 13 years ago? And we were all dying, weren't we? And then a 25-course meal coming up.
That was it.
That's what gets the life.
Night before we get out of our hotel is is right next door to a train station, a tube station. So you got that rattling through. But we go out. I can't remember what time. It'd be about 7-8 o'clock at night, wouldn't it? And it's a meze, and it is about 16 courses, and a beer is optional. That's
Italian.
Yeah.
Very thick, rich carbicide.
Well, that was it, and then there was no cabs home, was there? So I don't know what time we finished there. We were there for hours.
Was it Reese's granddad? When he was Reese's granddad, the chef.
We had to
Kenny Hunt.
walk back. It was humid as well, wasn't it? God,
Yeah.
London was boiling.
Yeah.
London's burning.
London's bad.
Just walking through London early hours in the morning.
That was it.
But laughing as well.
Yeah,
But laughing, going, look, this is us.
biggest game of our life today.
The worst prep, the worst everything. You
No.
couldn't write it again. You couldn't write it.
So next morning we get up. Poppy, you explain this best, but just that journey in. We're on our Gemini bus because we've brought everyone who's ended up involved in the season. I mean, the bus is barely big enough. Once you added people's
I think there's people underneath and in the boot. I think.
but pulling into Wembley and seeing all the fans, but then when you park the bus underneath and Kirkham and Wesham roll up.
You look out and it's the England's national bus with electric doors sliding out of the middle, and then there's us like bowling out of an emergency door at the back, 10-foot drop, kit bags. They're just walking in with their toilet bags, with their kits printed, names on the back. We're walking in with a cardboard box full of kit.
Bringing in the box as a kit, yeah.
Two worlds.
But it was, wasn't it? It probably summed up. We didn't have anyone really who'd been there and done that type of thing, and just walking into the dressing room, dropping 2 big boxes of kit on the floor, which Rocket's got behind him, and just watching 20 odd lads just dive in, like
Vultures.
grabbing shorts and socks, and then having.
Who was it that didn't have kit? Was it Potts?
One of the starters, wasn't it? It was someone who was starting.
Possibly. My legs were still aching from standing up on the way into the ground anyway.
And having to say to one of the people that weren't in the squad that was able to do the warm up as
Can have your kit. But
yeah,
that was it, wasn't it? It was like
Nike and Umbro mixed.
And I'm sure whoever it was probably didn't begrudge having to give up a pair of shorts. They still got to go out and warm up at Wembley. And I mean, I don't think we warmed everyone up, did we? Because that would just be ridiculous. But just got to kick a ball around and look at the 20-odd thousand people.
Had we found out this? We hadn't found out the starting 11 or the squad, had we, at that point before we'd arrived at Wembley?
2 fitness tests, weren't there?
Yeah, they didn't name it, did we? I just remember Wembley because we'd been so used to changing rooms that were literally the size of a living room. To Wembley, where I could bet you could like so far apart, you're miles apart. The gaffer's in the middle, and you're like having to really listen in.
It was incredible.
It's so far away.
Facilities though, unreal, weren't they?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was a fantastic day, but
I can't really remember much about. There's certain things I remember about. I can't remember the dressing rooms. I can't remember the team talk. I can remember lining up. Gosh, that was a good one. We were lining up with our mascots, ready to shake hands. We were about to shake hands, and I think that. Did we do the national anthem?
National anthem, and I was just zoned, yeah. And
then Potts just runs off and jumps up, just runs up, detaches from the end of the line, and all of a sudden we have to go and shake hands with and Potts is by the corner flag.
But the funny thing is that I wasn't actually on the end. I was next to you. I had to run past people. I was just in the zone, ran off to the corner. All these people must have, come on, 15, 20,000 people. Absolutely must have gone, what is this
No one
dude
would have
doing?
noticed, man. No one would have.
Not a clue. They were just,
bloody hell, the kit man.
They were doing the Poznan looking the other way. But
never seen anyone jump so high ever.
I was,
If
that had been literally, if that had been one of they wouldn't have scored. But I felt, just it was that adrenaline, and literally it felt like I was hang time. I was playing an NBA Jam on the Mega Drive, but it was just literally, it was just an amazing moment. Yeah, like national anthem and all that. It was just like your proudest sort of moment rolled into one, if you like.
I remember walking out; it was an amazing feeling, and
it
was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Looking at bottom tier,
achieved.
Goosebumps.
Just blue. It was just blue, wasn't it? So I think there 20,000 people there, and 17,000 were in blue, and you just saw loads of people you knew.
That's why I wish the footage was like it is now, don't you? So you'd get better memories, better things of, like we're saying, the run. We'd have all them goals and the performances on tape, and recorded. You could just go and watch them whenever you wanted and laugh and be so proud. But that's one thing I regret, is the timing, with the technology now. But again, you wouldn't change it for anything, just to be there.
So game kicks off. 7 minutes in, Lowestoft go 1-0 up. I think it was Potts with a cross, own goal, and then didn't you run off Potts?
Ran off into the hottest part of the pitch, did a slide, didn't move anywhere, crushed my nut. I looked up and see Rocket's mitten just going off celebrating like he had got a touch off his wig, off the mullet, off his Terry Nutkins, and
It was a long ball though, wasn't it? It was more of a long ball than a cross on, wasn't it? Just a hoop.
Little clip. It was a clip.
Definitely over here.
It's about Millichip. And then Dougie Shaw was there, wasn't he?
Well, I know it's the other centre half who scored, because I remember him just going up in the sky, and I was thinking, where is that going? Where's that going? It's in. Turning around, just seeing the sea of blue. The fans
Shaw
going.
Was a player, wasn't he? Dougie Shaw was a player, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was a good player. Yeah, read the game well.
Yeah.
And that was as close to the goal we got, wasn't it?
Until the last few minutes.
Any chances, did we?
The game just
we weren't prepared for it, were we? I don't know really what. I can't look back and ever really think of how we approached a game and being a team who knew what we were going to do. Right, we'll score and then we'll do this. We looked lost, didn't we? And you had players all over the gaff, didn't you? Like McGee on the bench, and you're thinking, okay, at some stage you bring him on. Ali Mack, who'd been brilliant. Cocker's got the hook at half time, didn't he? That was a hard, difficult afternoon for him. He'd had a tough one, but I guess how him being in there was kind of a lot of how we'd set up across the whole Vase run. Was Cocker's just sitting in there. You had them three heads on sticks who could head and kick everything in front of you, and then all of a sudden he's having a torrid and gets hooked, and we just didn't know what to do, did we? Just waiting for that whippet to come on in the last 10 minutes. And again, going back to not knowing anything, it's probably one of the first things we did know. We actually did know about an opposition, weren't it? That they had this lad who just kept having this knack of coming off the bench, and he's rapid and he can hurt you.
Ironically enough, I didn't even know about it, Renz.
No.
Yeah, I think
did he not semi-final?
They played
Needham. The killer. Yeah, he scored the killer, didn't he? Back at Needham. But I didn't know any more of it. I didn't know it was his forte, his signature.
Yeah. I remember speaking to Lawsy, Danny Laws, after their semi-final game, and he said he was something special. You don't know why he wouldn't start, but it was a bit of a possibly the same as us. They had a way of, they got to the final and they weren't gonna change it, and you knew at 70 minutes, even I think you knew when he came on, you were like, oh, here we go. Just mentally for us, it was, oh no, because we at that time we were dead on our feet. We'd had Cotter's come off. I think Kingy came off first half, and Reese hadn't come on. So that was two subs that we'd made at half time, one left, and we were, with everything that had gone over the weekend, it was a boiling hot day. We had nothing left in the tank, And I just remember 85 minutes looking up. I think Ren's had a goal kick. Looked up at the clock behind and go, we are nearly here at 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I
remember that.
Because
Plasky went off, didn't he?
Yeah.
Plasky was a blow because I think the back four had been brilliant, and obviously Ren's, and I think we just lost a bit of shape. The four been so familiar, and then Plasky going with his tennis elbow or whatever he had wrong with him.
Dale dropped in the second half, didn't he?
He dropped in at left back. I went in centre half with Colonel, and then you were right back, weren't you?
And then that
Gaz come on up front, didn't he? I can't remember who's playing midfield. It was Woody and Goddard, wasn't it? Or was it?
We had Huffy on the right.
Yeah.
And we'd rode our luck, haven't we, as well in the game? Like I said, I cleared one off the line or a couple off the line. Bodies were on the line again, but we were done, weren't we? We were unfit, unfortunately, on the hottest day of the year, biggest pitch we'd played on against a team who were fresh. So
I think that was a disappointing thing. You'd had the whole town behind you, and someone would have seen you play for the first time, and it was a bit of we hadn't done ourselves justice here. But when you kind of look back on the whole competition as a whole, you kind of wonder how you got there in the first place. But which was a completely different feeling to a year later when we felt we could go on and win it.
Yeah.
So, I guess, thought overall, I mean, Rocky, I think you said it earlier, I think that run, without that run, is there a Lowestoft town anymore? Financially, from a Kirkley overtaking, the fact that, I guess, in that run, we talk about preparing for the final. One of the actual sessions we did with Dave Carolan at Norwich, and I think without that introduction, which then introduced to Flem, go on then, summarise, without that Vase run, what do you think has happened to the football club?
Probably still be competing in the Vase every year. Yeah,
I agree. It was kick-started that, all the. It was a brilliant season the next season, but it all came from those lads in that dressing room. Chapo pulling together as a club. The club was desperate. We got on the pitch, pulled together, and got
going again, didn't we?
Got us through that to the Vase. Made 120 grand, something like that. Some of the numbers and figures, and won the league the next year, and the club really, really kicked on, which was, as an ex-player, was brilliant to see. And
fan base increased, didn't it? Interest in the area. People wanted to come and play for the club. Could see it was moving in the right direction from being absolutely nowhere near it a year or two before that. And I think you said it sort of saved it, didn't it? That sort of group of players and people we had around sort of saved the club and enabled it to kick on again and bring back some of the glory days.
Yeah, I think it. There was an element of the club as well. But there's no doubt it put Lowestoft on the map. But for us as a group of players, we knew that if we could just do a bit more, we wouldn't be that. We got lucky in that year. The second year, we got to the final. We were far from lucky. We were brilliant that year, and obviously, Flem and Dave Carolan came in and added massive value to us. To the same group of people that finished 15th or 11th, wherever we finished in that year. So I think that belief for us, for me, definitely.
I think that first session we rocked up at Dean's, and Flem sat us down and said, I've asked people about you as a group, and everyone said talented bunch, but not fit enough. Maybe don't want it enough. And I think everyone just thought, here we go. And we did the bleep test, didn't we? Pot of puking up, things like that. And the whole mentality of the club changed from then. And I lost it.
We did the double, didn't we? We did the double that year. We gone to Needham and turned them over 5-0.
Oh, yeah.
We used to run teams, didn't we, into the ground. And I just remember the last 15, 20 minutes where That'd normally be us who were dead on our feet. We were fit. We were all over them. We beat them to the ball. We were 3-4-0 up. We wanted to win 5-6-7-0, and we just had that about us. And for me, that's the frustrating thing, knowing what we were capable of the season after the Vase, final. Thinking what it.
Yeah, crazy time. But it is crazy to think of it like that. That season, that group that finished 11th conceded 91 goals and just capable of what we did. And then, well, I guess how fickle football is. You then start to look at all of the numbers, the stats, the whatever the following year, and you don't get there. And it probably, whilst like we talked about the Sudburys who had 3 years, us, this way back when, Wroxham since, this area has always had groups capable, hasn't it? But it just needs everything to come together. And we were such an unusual group because how rare would it be that a mid-table group can just pull it together 8 times just to get there?
Must have been frustrating as a manager, seeing all those talented lads crap in the league, but then turn up on the next Saturday and just absolutely brilliant.
But it must have been hard. It must have been hard for them because I guess they didn't know how much more we had in us the following year at that point. And when you look at it, and you look now, you think there's no way in the world I should have been out on that pitch. Should have had a keeper who could kick and do that. There's no way in the world that players should be driving around London trying to get injections just to get on the bench. It was probably the whole everything about that run and that season was if we'd have won, it would have possibly, well, it just made a mockery of football. A team like us that can pull it together like that to win it. But then, like I say, if it was predictable and easy like the following year where we go, yeah, we should have, then it'd be boring, wouldn't it? It'd be a boring sport.
There's not many teams who have an open top bus tour for coming runners up either.
I felt ashamed doing that.
Afternoon with the mayor, wasn't it, as well?
Town hall for a bus.
Have a cool reception, wasn't it, or something? I don't know, whatever it's called.
The mayor out of the business.
That's the third crossing we're meeting about that, I think.
Come on. We had to duck under the trees, didn't we? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Aviators and I don't think there's not one person who didn't have a pair of aviators.
I think we'd all been out the night before, as usual.
Yeah,
we were hanging. I remember
Did we go up for the FA Cup final or something, and we all wore football shirts at the football club?
It was a Saturday all day on Saturday, and we rocked up Sunday morning 8 o'clock.
The council office or something, we'd get our picture taken. I remember just nearly fainting in the back of King Hill.
You look like Freddie Flintoff.
Straight on Pedalo.
Right, chaps, it's been brilliant going through it all again, and I think we could do this 2 or 3 times over and probably come out with some new stuff. So appreciate your time and your recollection of your stories. But hopefully one time soon when football's back again, we can get the band back together for an afternoon out or a charity game or something. But
good.
Cheers, chaps.
Good to see you.
Good to see you all, gents. Look after yourselves.
Yeah, good to see you, chaps.
Stay safe.